Chic West Podcast is heart-opening dialogues for self-identified women on a Chic West, a movement moving forward, striving to live aware, bold, and whole. Welcome. Hi, Chic West. Welcome to Chic West Podcast. I'm your host, Estelle Thompson. What a time to be alive. Our hearts relentlessly attached with more turmoil, heaviness, and crisis. I've always believed that anti-racist work is soul work. And lately, I've been more than ever committed in unearthing some of my own unconscious biases and dismantling racism. Shadow work is a fundamental part of Chic West, along with learning art and yoga tools to make you comfortable with discomforts. Therefore, this month we explore and dive deep in the magic of Black women's stories and spirituality. I wanted this series to be a flashlight into the invisible hashtag #MySheStories and amplify their voices and listen to their important wisdom. And today, I'm so thrilled to have on the show Stephanie Bizzeth. Stephanie is an African Nova Scotian, born and raised in Cole Harbour, an occupational therapist currently working in mental health and addictions, lover of art, music, community, and living by the ocean, a humble student in the practice of yoga, meditation, and shadow work. And through this journey is finding her voice, getting loud about anti-Black racism. And on a personal level, I know Stephanie from workshops she's attended of mine. She was the first buyer of my original Jardin Magique painting coming on 5 years ago now. Which I know. And I will always remember, and perhaps you can tell me if you remember that too, Stephanie, but when you look at that painting and you looked at me and then you looked at the painting again and then you looked at me with the most sparkliest eyes and you said, I see it, the magic, I see it. Welcome, Stephanie.
Oh, thank you so much, Asa. I'm so happy to be a part of the Chic West family now. And I do remember that moment. Your piece immediately spoke to me as soon as I came through the door. I'm pretty sure it was one of the things I saw. And I was like, yep, that's coming home with me tonight. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, and it was such a big moment for me. And I've communicated, I've said this to you before in emails and stuff, but I remember this moment often. It was really when I think all the stuff I do is I just remember your eyes and look at me there's magic in it, just to almost a remembering. So I just want to thank you for that.
Oh no, you're welcome. It has brought me so much joy. It's hung up in my favorite room in my place, and it's just so colorful and bright. And I think such a wonderful representative of the magic and then of you yourself. It just shines through so amazingly.
Oh my goodness.
Excited to have it.
Oh my goodness. So I'm just so happy to have you on the podcast. We need to, really get into this conversation right now, this important conversation. And I asked the first questions, I asked all my guests, because at Chic West, we strive to live aware, bold, and whole. And I just asked Stephanie, what makes you feel alive today?
Oh, right now, it's being able to hug all of my favorite people.
Yes!
Yeah. I am such a hugger, and that has been the biggest struggle of being around folks that I love and adore and being socially distanced for them, especially, in isolation for quite a few months now, that getting the green light that I was able to hug my friends and my loved ones was just so amazing yesterday. Very, very excited to be able to do that. And
yeah, it felt like a big freedom, didn't it? It's our hearts were lifted somehow.
Yes, exactly. I was in a yoga class actually last night, and as I was leaving, and I was chatting with a friend on the sidewalk, and we had been going back and forth for a little bit, and then it just clicked into her. She's like, "Wait, we can hug now," and I said, "Oh, you're right." So we got to embrace this even for that second, and you just forget about that complete need for human contact. And it was wonderful. So that just
Yeah.
has set my soul on fire at the moment.
Oh, totally, totally, totally. So before we dive deep, and talk about how soul work is anti-racist work, I just want you to tell us about yourself and your, we call it here ever evolving she story,
Yeah.
like your cultural upbringing and like just who you are, what has led you to this moment. And I want to be transparent with everyone. I asked Stephanie, I read a post that she had written and it just really moved me. And it was so authentic and just so, I don't know, it was so simple. And at the same time, just so raw. Like, it was just like, this is what it is. Like, and right away, I just wanted to know more. And so can you give us just tell us your story, and perhaps you can refer to that post even like as you were writing it. And
So I always say that I'm African Nova Scotian, and I come from kind of like two collective worlds. So my mother's side is my African Nova Scotian side. I am sixth generation from her family. She grew up in a rural area. And then my dad's side, his family immigrated to Canada at the late 60s from Guyana, a small country in South America. And so I got this wonderful ways of like Canadian traditions mixed in with like Black American kind of cultural things from my mother. And then for my dad, I had this kind of Caribbean influenced family that was loud, and we made amazing food and danced together all of the time at family gatherings. And so between the two of them, they kind of shaped my world in the fact that moving forward, I always knew that it was just kind of like my Blackness was special. And it was something always to be mindful of and to be proud of. And then, but in moving in my environment didn't always reflect that. So they also prepared me in the fact that there was a set of rules that might necessarily always apply to me in the same way. Like, for instance, so I grew up in a neighborhood that majority of white people, middle class. I went to a school, I think like my junior high school had roughly about maybe between about 600, 650 kids. And there was like between 5 and 6 Black students at any time, I think through like my grades that I went through. So
yeah.
I certainly wasn't being reflected back in any kind of like my environment. And I didn't have a Black teacher until I was in high school. I have yet to still have a Black doctor at any point in time. I have yet to have, like a Black dentist, any of those kind of like other professions, a pharmacist, I think of, especially like working in healthcare, kind of like reflected back to me. And I remember like my parents being like, you can do anything that you want, but understand as well that some of the things are going to be different from you. Like, you have to make sure that everything you're professionally dressed. You have to make sure that you come prepared and are well educated in everything you did. My dad was also a teacher, and he, really emphasized like education as, the idea that knowledge is the one true thing that no one can ever take away from you. So using your education as a powerful tool. And it was kind of those moments where I'm like, I don't understand that. My friends see me just as anybody else. Like, why do I have to always constantly be worried about like making mistakes? But you come to realize that as like being a Black person, you are not always just representing yourself. We've been placed into this kind of bit of like a cage almost to a certain standpoint that you carry everybody with you. So the idea of like you like potentially, I would think of like messing up in school could then potentially take away the opportunity from somebody else. And so it was always kind of bringing that idea along with me that I have to represent kind of like everybody as I move along. And so pursuing my education was always kind of a great passion for myself until it was this time to discover kind of like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And I had no idea. And I kind of flip-flopped around through university, kind of landed myself into doing event work. And I worked for the city, I worked for non-for-profit, and it was stuff that I liked, but it wasn't anything that I loved. And kind of as a lot of things do, through grief is kind of what I discovered what I wanted to do, like for the long term. So my grandmother passed 7 years ago, and she was the absolute love of my life. And she was in hospital for about 2 months before she passed. beforehand, I had always kind of saw myself as a helper. And being in hospital with her almost daily, I became so incredibly comfortable being in that environment. Like, nursing staff didn't even have to bother. They had already shown me in the cupboards where to get things, where to find the extra blanket, asking questions with like the dietary staff and with like housekeeping who were coming in. And I just kind of thought to myself, this is where I should be. I need to be going back to what I knew I wanted to be, and that was helping. And so through that is when I decided to go back to school and do my master's. And I know in my Instagram post, I also kind of alluded to that and the fact that going back and doing that work was difficult. Through Dalhousie's health professions policies, they have an affirmative action because they're realizing the lack of representation of diverse kind of like voices in the healthcare system. It doesn't really currently like reflect everyone in our community. So they have that policy in place. And it was something that I was proud to be like, I want you to know who you're representing if you're letting me in as a student. But I had fellow students when we kind of took a class about like socioeconomic impacts, very clearly stating that they don't believe in affirmative action policies. They don't believe that, people who are like of different skin color, we're in Canada now, racism is kind of like over. Why do they still, basically get to tick a box and kind of given a free pass to kind of come in? At the time, not necessarily to toot my own horn, but I had worked really hard and I was well qualified to be in the program with everybody else. I just wanted to let them know that they were bringing in a student who was going to represent a diverse population. But then I made it through my master's, and it was actually really great because through that Instagram post, I've also had a lot of people from my OT class who've reached out and kind of talked about how their perspectives have shifted, and that's actually been really wonderful to hear.
Wow.
Yeah, and going into work, I know as well, it was going back to again about the idea of, carrying everybody with you and then being worried again that I'm like, okay, if my classmates were thinking about that, are people that I work with thinking that I'm only hired because of like the diversity piece. And then that created a world of anxiety for myself that became really difficult to get through. Yeah, there was definitely days where I'd wake up every morning and be in tears at the idea of going into work and like being so worried that if I wasn't perfect, if I wasn't, making sure all my reports were perfect, if I wasn't, creating, the best experience for the clients that I work with in community, that I was worried that I was going to be, not worthy and that was going to create other problems for other people. But moving forward, I realize now it's like through a lot of my work, my meditation practice, I think has been the biggest game changer in my life. Taking that time for that stillness and that time to reflect has really been able to move me forward and think about it from like a different perspective. And then that understanding as well that it's like, I have to remember that I'm representing myself and doing the absolute best that I can. And sometimes that just has to be enough. And so working as an occupational therapist, I love it so much because the fact that our whole job is about supporting and enabling folks to live the best life that they can and do meaningful work. And so especially working in mental health, you get to see like the gradual steps of like working towards like meaningful employment and, leisure activities. It's just like the simple things. It's even just working on mindfulness. With a lot of our folks too, just being able to kind of take that breath and that pause for themselves to work on. It's been amazing and an evolving story of moving forward. And I think that's kind of like also the reason why I felt it was time to share my story, especially on Instagram, because I think most folks see kind of what was happening, especially with George Floyd, and just think it was something that's only happening in America. That kind of situation isn't taking place in Canada. And I was like, I think it's time to kind of like lift the veil a little bit, because I think a lot of my friends, we haven't really had a lot of conversations about race and color. And I think it was time to let people in and see a little bit more of kind of like the day-to-day struggles of what it really means to be a Black person and all of the kind of biases and discrimination and everything that kind of accumulates and see the true impact of that.
I'm super proud to have partnered with Hip Bee, a Canadian skincare company, in offering you 30% off all their products. I've been using Hippie Groovy Glow Pore Hustler and Jomo mask, and I've completely fell in love with this not only natural clean, but sulfate-free, alcohol-free, and did I say Canadian product? Hippie's mission is to simplify your skincare routine and bring practical, effective solutions to your moody skin. Their belief is that feeling beautiful in your own skin is a right, not a privilege. Hippie's offering Chic West podcast listener 30% off with the coupon ChicWest30. Go to www.hipbees, that's HIPBEES.com, and claim your 30% off any product in their shop today. That's ChicWest30, SHEQUEST30. I'm really excited to bring this mindful and sustainable plant-based skincare in the Chic West family. Enjoy glowing skin. Bye. First of all, like just thank you so much for just taking us through. And I think that's what pulled me into the post so much. It's like just your experience and you being so close to me in a way, like not that close, but like just, from, what I know of you. And, when you said, most of the time I'm like the only Black person in like, and I was thinking about like even my workshop, like the Bloom workshop, like you were the only Black person there, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
And it happens in our backyard. Like it happens in Cole Harbour. Like it happens in Eastern Passage. It happens in Halifax. And I don't want to say your post was simple, but I was like, but this is my experience. And it shed such a big light on, to be honest, I never thought about the fact that in my workshops, there's, not a lot of Black people that, you know what I mean? And so I just want to thank you for that. And something you said too was like, I love that you said like, it's time, I love that, and at Chic West, we talk a lot about like taking off our masks. And that post for me was really like Stephanie, like kind of taking off, I'm getting emotional, but like taking off your mask,
Yeah. And I think that was always like worried about like everyone else's comfort level. And then realizing that I was like, no, it's time to maybe potentially make some folks uncomfortable so we can have some growth together.
Tell us, for those who haven't read the post, and please do, we will share your Instagram handle, but tell us about your little, not your nephew, but your little niece.
Yes. So I think that was what it was. Because like, I feel like the Black Matters movement to me is like a true call to action.
That's what it means to you.
It's like the whole idea of like, it's a call to action, and it's a call to action for everyone. And I think that was with my piece in. So I wrote about, my sister had come to me and we'd had like the chat, and she had mentioned that my niece was kind of like upset, and my sister was, complimenting her and telling her she was beautiful and, like her skin is beautiful. And she kept saying no. And my sister was like, why are you saying no when I tell you that your skin is beautiful? And she was just kind of like, no, well, I was told, by this girl that, my skin looks like mud. And so it's not beautiful. It's not nice. She was upset with me, and she told me, that it looked like mud. And you could tell immediately like that it hurt her, and that she was already kind of internalizing this idea that, oh, my skin is not beautiful. It's not good. It's, it's less than. For myself, I just really thought, okay, this is a moment where I need to kind of speak up and, really, put words to action in the idea that I do not want her to have the same experiences that I do. I want her to be able to move through her life knowing that she is worthy, knowing that no one is considering the fact that she's Black. That means that she's less than. So I was kind of like moving through with my post. I like mentioned that. And then I was just like, okay, so here's one situation that she's going through, and that's starting at the age of 5 already.
And we're talking like, this is 2020,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So that too, like, I feel like it's like people are, it doesn't happen like these days. Come on. And it's like, no, it happens like today.
All the time. And I think that's what, everyone keeps thinking like, oh no, we've progressed past this. This is not still going on. And I'm like, yes, it is. It's in little things all the time. And so that's the reason why I wanted to. It's like I'm showing, the 5-year-old version that I'm like, oh, because I know a lot of people would immediately maybe think like, oh, yeah, it could just be kids being kids. Like they weren't really thinking it through. But I'm like, this is kind of how it starts when we dismiss things really easily. And so I wanted to also show like, okay, so that's at 5. Here's what the progression of that's going to look like. In sharing my story. So talking about the first time that I was called like the N word, and then how I was still recently called that, about 6 or so months ago. And then again, all of the little things that accumulate to that affect my day to day. The increasing anxieties of going into situations with folks where you're not really quite sure of your safety. And understanding all the like the little tweaks that I make and I'm conscious of that I make to make sure that I am, taken seriously when I am, asking even just for simple things and services. Like there was one piece that I didn't put in, but I still think of like even going shopping one time being like very blatantly like followed around the store, knowing full well that it had everything to do with my race because no one else was being followed. The clerk wasn't literally watching me as I moved to an aisle, they moved to an aisle. It became very obvious. Yeah, and I really do not want that. And I think it needs to be like brought to like the forefront for everyone to kind of create like better understanding. And I thought this was like a wonderful way that I just finished reading Glennon Doyle's Untamed, which is an incredible book. And she has a chapter called Racist. And I thought just did a wonderful kind of very simple analogy that I like kind of grabbed onto, I should say. And it's the idea about the fact that racism is everywhere. It's like dust particles in the air that you breathe in all day long. And it's not until someone kind of sheds a light on it do you realize that it's in the air. And I was just like, this is my time to shed some light. I feel like it's a collective call to action for everyone with the Black Lives Matter movement. And I feel like, and it's one of those things that so many people are kind of like, I'm not really sure what to do. And I'm like, no, I was like, whatever your instinct is basically kind of telling you, I said to move on. That's what you should be doing. Like moving forward for folks, things that are helpful is just like speaking up in the moment, which we all know is incredibly hard when they're faced with things that feel really uncomfortable and really difficult, especially when you haven't, kind of had to put yourself in that situation before. And also kind of like doing the work of educating yourself. There is so many wonderful resources, and I feel like articles that have been put out by a lot of Black women at the moment. Rachel Cargill has been amazing. I've just started following Debbie Brown, who does this amazing spiritual work, who's been talking about it as well as ways to kind of like educate yourself, but then also working through that work and finding different ways to ground yourself as you do it and having compassion for yourself as well.
Yes, all of the above. Yeah. All of the above. Yeah. I read the Untamed too, and I thought that paragraph was, the whole book. It just came out, but it feels like a classic, already.
Yeah, there's lots of her chapters that I feel like I feel like you're writing this just to me at the moment. About like able to just kind of like move forward and empower yourself. And I think for me as well, like that I take from her is the idea that I have to get comfortable with making other people uncomfortable versus myself.
That's it.
Yeah,
and that's huge. That's an unlearning right there, because that's not what we were taught, right?
Exactly.
Like just something as simple. I've had a few of these conversations now, and I always thought that being a racist was like the worst thing, So now you're like, we're all racist. And I'm like, but wait a minute.
Exactly.
That's wrong. Like, I don't want to be a bad person. And it's like that unlearning what we've been told about the power we hold as women, and like the unlearning like about our bodies. Like I'm just thinking about your little niece and like her body, like her skin, unlearning what she's been told. And like she's five, and like the same with like our beauties, and her voice, is so big, like it's so oppressed,
and that immediate need to want to like always kind of play it small, and I'm like, no, like we're moving past that thing. And I understand where like the defensiveness comes from, because I know for a lot of women, it comes with the identity of being like, we're nice, we're kind. Like you said, like, I don't consider myself, racist. Racism is kind of like those like big actions. We see that as being like, white supremacy, like we're seeing down in the States with kind of like, the nationalists, like, marching in Washington and seeing, things like the KKK. But it's that idea of like white supremacy and all of the privileges that are there that are like not necessarily seen right away until you start to kind of scratch at it. And then you're kind of like, oh, and you start to have, I think those like aha moments of like, oh yeah, you're right.
Yes.
I do get to kind of walk around in spaces and see people that look like me. I do get to have, services done by folks who also look like me and may have a better understanding of kind of like what I'm going through, and that Black people don't get to have.
This is kind of off script, but are you tired?
Yeah, I'm doing better. I would say like that first week of June, by the time Saturday hit, I was kind of done. I remember like that Saturday just being like reading someone's post that was just like, all Black folks, if you have the ability to do so, take the day off. And I remember being like, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I put the phone on silent and put it off to the side. And I think I just like binged the show on Netflix, ate all of the kind of like goodies, did some yoga that day, and was just like, yeah, this is just going to be a day of rest for myself at the moment. And then I can start to, tackle things again. Because it was one of those things where I never want to like ever deter anybody from showing like love and support. But things were coming in and the questions were coming all at like the same time. And I'm, trying to make sure that I'm being responsive to everybody. But by the time that was done, I was like, whoo, like I'm a little depleted. And so now it's just kind of like setting some boundaries with that, with moving forward and being like, okay, like I will get back to you. I will consider your request. And then there's some of the days where I'm just kind of like, you know what? I appreciate the love and they know that I love them. And I'm just going to leave it at that for today.
It sounds like the Black Lives Movement has taught you so much and influenced, your step in the world so much,
Yeah. And I will say it was really wonderful. I did go to the vigil that they had, and it was wonderful to see so many people come together and social distancing still as we are in the time of the pandemic. But it was just like, and everyone being a chance to have Black voices get up and kind of share their stories as well. And then understanding again that, the things that I've experienced really like I'm not alone in, and that there's other folks who are also trying to lend their voice to the cause to create some unity and some understanding, which was really wonderful as well.
Just veering a little bit, not too much, but my awakenings through all this. And I love your take on it because I know you talked about grief and about your grandmother, but like my big aha, and I had to be like, oh my God, how did I not know this before? But it was how, like, I literally, and I mentioned this in another podcast, like I literally like woke up in like the middle of the night. I was like, anti-racist work is like grief work.
Yeah.
And like, as much as I had this aha, then I felt just so sad that I didn't make the connection before. And now I'm kind of asking my question in, this series of podcasts where, do you believe? Because I was like, am I right? Like, I'm almost like a second guess myself. Is this like really? Because, I feel I'm a grief activist and like my own story. But like, so do you believe grief has something to do with unlearning racism?
Oh, absolutely. I think right now we're all in like a collective grief. And the fact that we're trying to, and I think we're all like in different stages of it at the moment. But I think that we're all trying to kind of come to grips with things that have to change and like being able to let go of that. And I feel like that is kind of like the grieving process for a lot of people. I know for like Black people right now, we're in a collective grief where you see like the rioting where things have kind of boiled over. And it's that mix of like sadness and that anger that's kind of come together, that everyone's trying to make the best out of the situation. And I think for other folks, it's also like joining in and like realizing that it's like, oh wow, this is something that I have also, benefited from. But
Yeah.
knowing myself that I was like, okay, I have to now peel back the layers, and like shedding that part of yourself, I feel like is also grief work. And to own it as well is always the really difficult part of it. Yeah, anti-racism is not kind of an easy process that it's like a one and done, as they keep saying right now. It's, it's a movement, not a moment. And I think that folks coming together in their grief is honestly what is going to change everything.
Tell me, how can white women help Black women? How can we be? I know this word is thrown around, the ally. How can we be allies? Like, what? How do you feel about this whole like? Just doing, I feel like just staying your truth, like doing what's right, as an action, as a call to action. Would you say more?
Yeah, I always think of, I go through the steps. It's like educating yourself is always, I think, like the big thing, in the understanding of kind of, the history of things and where things kind of come from.
Yeah.
It's having the hard conversation. And it's not necessarily about race with other Black women. I think it's having the hard conversations with even like family members and friends, and bringing it
Yeah.
up and having, those talks about, anti-Black racism and how do they see themselves like moving forward, and creating that space to have that dialogue. I also
Yeah.
actually think of like calling to action to like have folks take a look around, like who is in your spaces who are doing your work. Is it a diverse group? Is it not? Like for myself, like I think of just how you noticed, like I was the only person in your Bloom workshop, but I think all the time, like I'm generally the kind of the only Black person and things. So like the yoga studio that I go to, which I love, love the instructor there who knows me by name, but I'm generally the only student who's in the studio. And then with instructors, I think of Nikki Martin, who I know you've spoken with, who is actually haven't had the pleasure of attending her class, but she's really the only like person of color in Halifax that I know of who teaches yoga. Like I think
Yeah.
it would be amazing if like a collective, of women put together like a teacher training for like a Black cohort of the yoga teachers.
Oh my
Yeah,
God, that would be
like
so
yeah, like
good.
that would be amazing.
Or do you go? Is it Shanti, the yoga studio?
It's actually I go to On the Mat on Oxford Street.
Oh my God, why don't you just ask
I know
Tori?
I should.
I bet. Yeah, no, seriously, like she's the
Yeah,
best, and like yeah, she'd be so responsive to that, and she has major connection. That woman is like she's on the ball, and she'd be. I bet you on the mat. We're calling
yes.
you out.
Like that's where we're headed. But I think that would be a wonderful thing to have, and then
Yes,
creating.
it would.
Yeah,
There's a great little book, Stephanie. Where is it? But it's a call to action for like yoga teachers and yoga studios. I'll send you a link after, but it's a beautiful written book, and it's basically talks about the exact issue you're talking about in yoga studios in general. And I think you'd love reading it. It's such a short read too. It's like you can read it in like two
oh,
hours.
perfect. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm just thinking of. Yeah, this way of blending, like your skills and your knowledge to, bring more people to the table, which would be
Yeah,
wonderful.
I love
Yeah,
it.
so that's what I just think about, like of little kind of like actionable ways, or even in like the stuff that like that you create as well. I think of like I was looking up today in my office, and I have a calendar up by my very good friend Sarah Duggan, about like women who create, and she has all of these women of like different shades and colors, and I'm always just like, right, like, and I know she's just kind of like painting her world, and I'm like, it's so wonderful to see all that. I'm like, I feel like I belong part of that like creative, which is great and lovely to see reflected
Yeah.
back.
Yes, I love Sarah Duggan. Her work is just mesmerizing. So good. So good. You mentioned meditation, but is there like what does doing internal work about racism looks for you? I know you've mentioned, like talking, conversation, but like as our own, like in solitude, what would you do?
Yeah, like for myself, my grounding work is definitely, it's as I mentioned, like as you said, the meditation. It's doing yoga,
Yeah.
finding time on the mat, and then journaling has been my next thing. Is like putting thoughts to paper, And for my own grounding work, it's really been unlearning, I should say, some of my own kind of like racist tendencies. Like there's things that I had to unpack, things about that I also thought about like in my community that I had to work through as well. Like that worry about policing people and how they look and how I want to be like not considered, that stereotypical kind of like ghetto, or like in my own mind, like putting that down and not thinking again about the systems in place that keep that moving. And so I've had to kind of like get quiet and dismantle that. It's kind of like, do when I see, people on the street, it's like, am I also like a welcoming, loving person, to other my fellow Black people? Or am I also have that like conditioned thing that has been going on, like I said, all that death that I've been breathing in, that is telling me, to beware, knowing perfectly well that I have lots of, Black men in my life that have told me the opposite of that. So it's been sitting down and like working through that, and journaling it out through prompts, I think, of just trying to figure out what can I be doing better? Like, what do I need to be having the conversations about? And as well as like, and then finding the time on the mat to just kind of like let go of the stressors and like some of like the anxieties of day to day life. That it's just even like that simple, like 20 minutes of breath work, I feel like really changing and allowed myself to ground down and really kind of connect with myself better. Because as I was saying, yeah, with that changeover with like losing my grandmother, it always, like I said, with grief, puts things in a totally different perspective. You really do start to kind of, I think, gravitate towards more what is really important to yourself.
Pausing this ever-expanding conversation to let you know that I've heard you loud and clear. Not everyone likes subscriptions and be tied up in memberships, and I totally get that. This month, you are finally able to partake in single-handed programs and workshops originally only available through the Art and Yoga Channel access. Finally, pick and choose the offering that's right for you. Make a one-time investment and access online for 2 months at a time. Visit EstelleThompson.com. That's EstelleThompson.com to check my a la carte art and yoga offerings and begin your journey into the ever-evolving, creative, and yogic lifestyle you've always wanted. You're welcome. Now back to our chat.
And what you want to bring to the world as you move forward. And I think I really wanted to make sure that I was bringing all of myself, like that I wasn't shying away from, the Blackness that I bring into the world that's different, and that I represent myself fully as a Black woman.
So powerful. Oh, everything. You're so well spoken, Stephanie. And so to ground yourself, and so you mentioned breathing, like pranayamas. Is there anything else that you do? You mentioned journaling, meditation, yoga. I know you love reading.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am a big reader. Reading like all of the books lately.
Yeah.
No, and I was also thinking, reconnecting back. That's when, oh my gosh, thinking about it is finding ways back into nature. I have, for the first time, I think in a good solid 10 years, have gotten back on a bicycle. And have started kind of like biking through like the trails again, and actually take like that pathway that starts in Shearwater, like the Flyers Path, and take it down to Lawrencetown Beach and back, and it's wonderful. And it's just this wonderful, this great time to just kind of be by yourself, connect with the incredible greenery and the ocean, and just let everything go, which I think is wonderful. And I always come across like lovely people who are all out there with like smiles and, happy to help if anything's going on, because I always feel like I'm fidgeting with my bike seat. And so there's always someone who is there just like, oh, do you need assistance? You have something going on? And I'm like, thank you, fellow cycler, who seems to actually know what they're doing. I appreciate it. So.
I love that you mentioned nature, because that's definitely like, reestablishing yourself in nature is healing, grief we hold, and like it's just coming back to our kind of true, because we are
Yeah.
nature, we're yeah. I love it. I love.
So yeah, that's kind of like my thing. And getting back to that, and then so also something like, so every year, I think probably since I turned 30, I pick something new to kind of learn. This year
Yeah.
I was like, okay, like being completely inspired by like all of the lovelies in North Preston who are like getting out on surfboards. I'm like, this year I was like, you're getting on a surfboard this summer. Yeah.
No. Did you do it? Oh,
Yeah, so I have like vacation coming up the beginning of July, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna book a spot at the surf school and try it
yeah.
out.
Surfing so hard. I really give it up to you. So every year you learn something new.
Yeah, I tried to yeah, like I've taken ballet classes for a year. I learned to play the cello one year. Yeah, I've like traveled to a different destination that I hadn't been to before. Yeah, so I try to pick up something. Like I consider myself a jack of all trades, master of none. And so yeah, trying to get out, and I think that's also another way that I'm able to kind of like feed my soul, and the fact that I'm a lifelong learner. So it's been great.
Wow, that's so inspiring to me. I think last time I tried to try something new was like, I don't know,
Okay.
weaving, and that didn't work out so well.
But you tried it. That's the main point. You tried something.
I did. And I mean, I shouldn't say that. I just kind of stick around, kind of what I try new things, but always in relation to like yoga or like dance, like things that I already know. But oh my God, that's amazing. I can't believe you have to post pictures of yourself
Oh,
surfing on Instagram.
absolutely. I was going to say, I think it's going to be a lot of me like tumbling over the side, but I will have a smile on my face while I'm doing it.
Yeah, amazing. All right, so the last questions are kind of quick answers.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. Do you have a favorite mantra?
Oh, yeah. I always think I go back to Rumi. What you are seeking is seeking you.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
Rumi. Oh,
That's what I always think of when you get that nudge that it's also pulling you into.
how about a favorite flower?
For smell, I would say a lilac. For aesthetic, I'd say a rose.
Ooh, look at you. I never had somebody say two flowers. All right, the favorite book you've read about anti-racism. I know you've mentioned like Untamed, but I wouldn't consider this an anti-racism, but would you consider Untamed or anti-racism?
I would say like in her book, she has different things that definitely are very kind of like eye-opening and understanding that lends itself very well to like
Yeah.
anti-racism. But I would say the very first actual paper that I read was called White Privilege: Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack by Peggy McIntosh, which is a really great essay that she wrote, sadly, in 1988. That's still
Wow.
very relevant to today. I
Wow.
thought that was an amazing, and it was like eye opening even to myself of all the things that I was just like, oh, I hadn't even thought of that, which I thought was great. And then I've also, for myself, just started reading Me and White Supremacy by Layla Saad, which is kind of like, she takes you through like a daily, almost kind of like a workbook, which each day she kind of poses like a new challenge of a way to look at it. And I've had my friends who have also been reading it and saying that it's been really, really good for them and in creating so much more kind of understanding and also like compassion for themselves as they're working through this, and they're like being brought towards like action, and they feel like they've got some tangible things to work with. So I think those would be my two recommendations of the best ones I've read so far.
Great. And we'll have to link them up in the show
Yeah.
notes. Is the essay you've read something like that can be linked?
Yeah, oh, the essay is like a great one. I think it's one of those things where you just like kind of Google her name and it like a PDF comes up right away. So you can totally put that in.
What about a favorite podcast?
Oh, I do listen to quite a few podcasts. I've been listening to a lot of Untangled, which is like a mindfulness podcast, which is really nice.
Oh, I didn't never heard that one.
Like it's just kind of, it's like different folks in speaking every day about like different things about limiting beliefs, just even things about like relationships to self, about it's like they'll do like a meditation some episodes. So it's been like a really good one to listen to. I also listen to Mark Groves a lot. And his kind of idea about your relationship with others and your relationship to self. and like how to move forward. And I really kind of like his approach. It's a very like no bullshit. He just tells you exactly how it is, which I appreciate.
Cool. We'll have to link those up too. Okay. How about yoga or running?
Oh, yoga all the way. Although I do like running, but I am very much need to have like the dangling carrot that I've signed up for like a race or something in order to get me out there. Yeah, it's like, well, now I've signed up, I've registered, I've got to actually show up on race day knowing what I'm doing. So that's usually my catalyst.
Right. Book or Kindle?
Oh, book. Yeah.
Book, yeah. And tell us your favorite treat. Like it could be food, but it doesn't have to be, or just a
favorite treat. Actually, I will do combine one. If I could get a sunset by the ocean eating ice cream, that is perfection.
Ooh, perfection. Sounds like it to me. I have one last question for you, Stephanie. It's a loaded one, but I have much faith. I have much faith. Knowing what you know about, your story and what Black Lives Matters means to you, what do you wish for this new world we're creating? And it's a new question I'm asking on the podcast only because I really feel we're at the tipping point of something, and we get to craft kind of this new world, moving forward. What do you wish?
My wish for it, I think, is just unity. That this call to action, this movement, is truly what's going to bring us all together. I feel like we're on the brink of creating a world that is as close to, I think, as utopian as that we're ever going to get. And the idea of people really coming together and understanding each other's perspective and really kind of digging into the idea that, okay, this is not just, like Black people's work or Indigenous people's work or people of color. This is everyone's work. And I feel like as well, like folks knowing this now is going to raise a completely different generation. Like I would love to know that my niece in 10 years time is like, oh, that is the only incident anyone ever said anything about my skin. Like folks understand what's going on. Like I don't worry about when I go into a job interview. I know 100% that, I'm looked at based on my merit. Or people now have a better understanding of the systems in place that may be affecting me. So there's more understanding there when I come to the table. And I really just think I'm really hopeful that we're creating a more unified way to be, a way more unified way of living together. And I'm hoping it brings more people together. Like I love the idea of, when people are walking in the room, they're not the only person there because, a Black person was worried about like their safety, so they didn't come in. I want it to be normal when you see, folks see, a family out on like a hiking trail out in the woods. You wouldn't think twice of it as opposed to thinking maybe, oh, that seems a little odd. I haven't seen that before. I'm really hoping that everyone starts to feel safe in all spaces. That's what I hope for.
Yeah. You are such an uplifter. You're so sparkly, like inside out. And I just love speaking with you. And I really value the time that you took to tell your story. Really important. And you're just so well spoken. And I'm just so grateful for you, Stephanie. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate you reaching out and giving a platform to share these stories. So wonderful. And then also in a great space. Like I love being around you. Your energy is infectious. I still actually funny, I will tell a very quick story about you. I think it was just after I had bought your painting and you had set up at a market at Spanook. And I was coming in with a friend and I was like, oh, Estella's here. And we were getting close to the table. I was just like, I'm not sure if she'll remember me. I said, but she's wonderful and she makes amazing art. And then I came around the corner and you saw me and you immediately just threw your arms out and gave me the biggest hug. And I was like, oh, okay, she does remember who I am. This is wonderful.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? How can I forget the first person who's ever like my work in a gallery? I think I remember that too. That was forever ago too. That was like,
I know. So so I am happy to support all things you do. I'm gonna bring some more people out to your workshops because they're wonderful and just easy. Like it just great way to like tap into your creativity. I love that you're always just like, everyone is creative. Everyone has the ability to express themselves.
I like drill it in. Stephanie, where can we find you and how can we support you?
I know. I would think I am on Instagram, so we can link my profile there as well. But then I think even for myself, just to support me, I would actually ask folks to check out Instagram of Game Changers 902 is their handle. And they're a collective of 3 folks who are doing incredible work that are working together as like a collective of like different people from different areas, from like, art to business to, kind of like social justice, and are hoping to bring together a collective. And I really want to support them to be successful in coming up with a game plan for our city to move forward in this Black Lives Matter moment. So that's what I will.
You got it. We'll put all that in the show notes, so it'll be just so easy to find, and everyone will be able to support that and go follow you and all the goodness. That's all the time we have. I hope to see you soon, yes. Stephanie. Have fun surfing.
Thank you. Look, I'll make sure the pictures are up for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste, Steph.
This podcast was produced by Tosh Taylor of the Podcast Hub Productions. Find her online at podcasthub.ca.